Today is the day that two pieces become one on the Black Pearl kayak. So I've had to trim a little bit of the bulkhead, which is already glued in, so the deck would sit flush, going a little lower, rounding the corners for fillets on the shear clamp. And I have sanded through the cockpit area for varnish later. Customer asked me to add a little bit of reinforcement where his heels will be. He's worried that he's going to wear through. I don't think he understands how strong these boats are, but we are ready to put the deck on. The deck is over here. I have sanded in all of the edges where epoxy will mate, and we are ready to glue it on. It's time now to consider building the curved stern bulkhead. I've got the deck on, it's not attached. I'm just looking for what is level down. I'm drawing a line. So what we're doing here is building a curved bulkhead for better water drainage and to provide for lean back rolls. So measuring on the plans, the bottom of it the top of it will come flush with the top or the back of the coaming, and the bottom is to be 10 centimeters forward of that. So the seat will actually be quite forward up here. I've screwed 3 pieces of plywood together flush with the forward face, and I'm just using my ship sweep or French curve here to draw, and it looks like if I just pretty much set that right in there like so, I get a perfect curve for drawing that. Then I'm going to cut out all 3 pieces together on the bandsaw, clean them up, and build a little mold. After scuff sanding all of the surfaces, make them nice and smooth, I then coated everything with a couple of coats of epoxy, making sure everything is soaking in well. And then I thickened up the remaining epoxy and spread it all on the mating surfaces before attaching the deck. With the deck exactly where I wanted it, lining up the bow and the stern, I'm just going to be taping it all down together using a good strong fiberglass reinforced tape. A lot of downward pressure. I'm seeing some squeeze out of the thickened epoxy, which is good. I mean, I will have to clean it up, but I want to make sure that any gaps between deck and hull are filled. It definitely didn't take as much tape to hold this deck down as on other kayaks where I'm trying to line up deck and hull without that shear clamp inside there, which becomes a greater surface bonding area. But I wanted to make sure that everything was down tight. I even needed to use a few clamps, which was pretty straightforward to do. I just used the actual beam that it's sitting on as a structure to clamp to, and this way I really made sure that that deck was pulled down tight. As a bow and stern block. First with the thinned epoxy, soaking it into all the open areas, and then slathering on some thickened epoxy. The only way I could hold the block in place was with more reinforced tape, making sure that it's not sliding down as I walk away from the project. Following a good 10 to 14 hours of cure time, the deck is permanently attached now, so I'm just going to take all the tape off. And of course, I really wish that I had made sure that I had some sort of fold over tabs to that tape, because sometimes it's really hard to get under. Once you start tearing it and it starts splitting in half, you've got strands everywhere. But you know, for the most part, it came out pretty well. I made the block a little oversized, giving myself lots of room to trim this back. First with my close saw, getting off any bulk that I can. And then I just brought in the belt sander and went at it to shape it down to flush with the sides of the hull and the deck and create a nice little rounded over end. With this block in place, there's no real need to do an end pour. We've got a solid block in there. I don't know what the one would be ramming it into, but you know, we don't have to worry about it not being sealed on the inside because the whole inside of the deck and hull were perfectly sealed with fiberglass. Then I just used my Sureform, scrape down any excess epoxy squeeze out, hit it with my 80 grit orbital sander so that I can start to apply the fiberglass seam tape. Now I don't even know if this boat really requires a seam tape, but I'm going to do it anyways. I've got a warranty that I got to add onto this boat, so we'll make sure this deck is never going to come apart. Here I'm just applying some masking tape so that I can cut back the fiberglass tape when it's sort of at the green stage, not fully clear. It gives me a nice clean edge for sanding later. The seam tape will be 4-ounce cut from the full sheet of glass. I'm cutting a wide piece here, and then I'm going to cut it in half. I mean, you do end up with a lot of sort of strands everywhere, but with the tape on the deck, I can overlap the fiberglass onto the tape, saturate with epoxy, and then, like I said, when it's green, I'll be able to come back and trim it down. We are down to the final stage on building the Black Pearl, and that will be to prep this fiberglass hull with sandpaper and scraping in preparation for varnish. That will conclude this episode on building the Black Pearl. The next episode will be the final episode as I get into sanding and varnishing. So thank you very much for watching. Hey, do consider giving me a thumbs up on the video series, and we'll see you next time.